Detroit Lions. They are America's darling. 9-8 last year. Did not make the playoffs. They're apparently not PFF projected win darlings, though. They're only at 8.79.
Interesting.
So PFF maybe not buying in.
Well, that's because the late Dr. Eager is no longer here to cook the numbers.
Yeah, he's not here to restore it. The Lions started off really slow last year. Defense was terrible. And then they started to, put it into high gear and get moving. Ben Johnson, great job as offensive coordinator. You loved him. We've talked him up quite a bit, but they had a lot of open throws. Mm-hmm. We had Mike Sando on the show last week talking about QB tiers. He's like, "What's up with Jared Goff?" Anytime his offenses do well, they give credit to the offensive coordinator. Anytime the offense doesn't do well, they say, "Hey, it's because they had Jared Goff." And it's like, well, Jared Goff's just a mid-tier quarterback. He's good. He's solid. Playmakers are good. Offensive line is good. Defense was much better down the stretch, and they're young. This is supposed to be the Lions' year in the NFC North.
It's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, I continue to like the moves that they've made, throughout this rebuilding project. I mean, this has been a multi-year process with the new regime that they brought in, new general manager, new head coach, and they've done, I think, a really good job. And even when they've goofed, they've done a really good job of fixing it quickly, like not letting that be the thing that derails the entire project, right? When you make a mistake and then spend the next 3 years either waiting for it to come good or having to reboot the whole cycle again, they've fixed gaps where they've missed really well. And they did that. That was, I think, the feature of the offseason this year, like bringing in Cameron Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, like for a secondary that had been a weakness and a problem. They were like, let's just guarantee a baseline of solid play. And then if we can get better than that, gravy. So like across the board, I think they've done a really, really good job of this. And their draft got criticized quite a lot. Some of our comments made it onto their little draft video. You, me, and Renner, in fact, even though Renner wasn't here at the time.
I didn't realize that was my voice kicking it off.
Yeah, you had the opening words of the video.
Maybe when I played it, it already skipped over my voice, and I just heard your...
And then my part was, some might say, misrepresented, edited in such a way that it was left off the positive comments that I gave.
We should clear the air with the social team next week when we're in town.
Absolutely. But as much as, the only pick that I really had any serious issue with was the Jahmyr Gibbs pick that early in the draft. They made a big deal out of, he wouldn't have made it further. To me, that's just an indication of, okay, but that's just, you then just accept that. Oh, he won't make it to our next pick. Fine, then you don't draft him because it's not worth it at that pick. They did, whatever, fine. They can make something special out of him in that offense potentially. But the draft should have theoretically added a lot of quite good players that can make an impact quite quickly, which will make this team better. The long way around is saying it's a project that's been moving in the right direction, doing a good job. And I think this offseason only poured gas on that. The Lions' hype, I think, should be for real.
So we got Goff as a good, solid quarterback who, when you've got the right play caller and some playmakers, he's going to distribute it and, you can create some offense. And that's what they have. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has turned into one of the better possession receivers in the NFL. Love the speed that they've added. Jameson Williams is suspended for the first, was it 6 games for him?
Yeah.
But when he comes back, his speed, Khalif Raymond and his speed, Jahmyr Gibbs, we just saw him cooking a linebacker the other day, so we know he's already worth the draft pick. Jahmyr Gibbs, his speed. Sam Laporta, incredible athlete, as their early second-round draft pick. So they have created this offense with a ton of explosiveness and shiftiness, with a good play caller who gets the ball in space to these guys, and a good offensive line where left to right, Taylor Decker to Penei Sewell, I won't name all the players, but Decker and Sewell, one of the better tackle duos in the league. Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers in the league. Solid guard tandem. They're kind of like the Browns on paper from an offensive line perspective. Top 3 to 5 offensive line potential here.
They're one of a number of teams who last year had one position group that just could not stay healthy. Buffalo, it was their secondary. Day one, it was beat up, but it never really got healthy over the course of the season. The Lions just had this revolving door on the interior of that offensive line. They were cycling through every single week. It seemed like they had a different guard, center, guard combination, and most of them were underperforming when it came to the backups or guys playing hurt. If their starting trio stays healthy this year, that's as big as an upgrade as, you know, a team that added a really good player. If the Lions can simply have Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, and Graham Glasgow or Big V, Vitae, like if they can just get those three guys and stay healthy all season long, that's a massive upgrade for that interior.
So I like the offense. The one thing we always have to like explain our Jared Goff takes and everything. He's had similar grades. He had a similar grade last year as he did like the year that he got moved on from with the Rams. And so the on-field production for Goff has been a little bit dependent on, like I said, playmaker, play caller, and a little bit of luck. Last year he had some interception luck. Stats ended up very good. I still think Goff is solid and can execute here, but I don't think he's a guy that goes out and wins games for you, but I don't know that he has to, the way the team is constructed. The Gibbs thing is going to be fascinating if they try to – look, if people are trying to justify the Gibbs pick, like somebody said, eat that, Sam, when I posted the good Gibbs play.
Huh.
Overall, like it doesn't matter how many plays he makes. At some point, it's the financial aspect of it too. Because the Lions can call him an offensive playmaker all they want, but he's still a running back in name and will get paid higher than most of the running backs around the NFL throughout the course of his contract. That's just a tough thing it's just a tough circle to square.
I mean, look, it kind of depends just how much. Like, they made a big deal out of, like, he's not a running back. He's, you know, they use this sort of offensive weapon or playmaker. Like, those types of buzzwords. Traditionally, when people start saying things like that, it doesn't usually work out. I mean, Denard Robinson was an offensive playmaker. Like, you know, usually when you start talking about people as like a unique chess piece on offense, it's because he doesn't fit into a traditional spot, and most NFL teams are not great at maximizing that value. So I'm not saying it's just a little bit concerning that that's like what they're talking about as a concept, because I don't think teams have been very good at maximizing that. The second thing, though, becomes like if he is actually good enough to be a true hybrid, like let's say he's a slot receiver first,
let's say
who can line up in the backfield.
Say he's Alvin Kamara. What Alvin Kamara has done throughout his career.
I mean, if he's Alvin Kamara, I think drafting him at 12 overall was too rich, right? But I'm more interested in...
It's close to
maybe, but I'm more interested in what if he is this true holy grail, like what if he's Debo? That's more interesting to me. If he's Debo Samuel, a guy that can legitimately play first and foremost as a wide receiver and then go into the backfield and cook because he's got enough speed and ability to make plays in the backfield. Debo at 12 overall, easy value. No problem with that whatsoever. If he's Debo, now we've got something potentially special, and I will happily take back my criticism of you don't draft a running back at 12 or that style of running back at 12.
Yeah.
My point is more if he's Kamara, if he's CJ Spiller, like those guys don't go at 12 overall for a reason, and I don't think they can really justify going 12 overall, even if they end up as good NFL players, because what they're doing is not that valuable. If he's Debo, though, that's a different conversation. So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I would say if you did get Alvin Kamara type of production, I think Kamara is one of the guys that's, you know, been... There's like 4 or 5 running backs who have been actual real difference makers over the last few years. And now Kamara is losing some of that with injuries and now suspension, but that's beside the point. But even he slowed down a touch. But either way, this offense is going to be #fun to watch, because I do think they will move Gibbs around. He is going to be a tough cover if they do lean into that. The tight ends, they did a great job of scheming those guys open last year, and they've just got really good athletes to cover on offense. So I'm looking forward to that.